So the title of my presentation is Supply Chain Analytics and the Digital Transformation. So we're going to find out what's happening. This is a 360-degree type overview presentation just to kind of get us started on the right foot and to see what's going on in the industry. And some of the things that I was going to talk about include the operational analytics, the drivers and benefits, the survey results, and what's important. And my name's Janice Abel, and I'm an analyst with ARC. And my focus area has been on the manufacturing intelligence, but a lot of the analytics and things that we've been looking at are from all different spaces, so it's very interesting. And the other part is I've also been involved with the MES systems, and in addition to that, I've also focused on, I've done some work in the supply chain, like around the anti-counterfeiting and some other areas. So it's very interesting to look at all these different areas. So you'll see that when we're going through this. So I'm going to give you like a couple of survey things that we've seen that results that I think you'll be interested in that apply to this space, and then talk about what's important. So I do want to just mention that we do have a supply chain logistics group, and it's run by Steve Banker, and he wasn't able to make it here. We have some other people. One was on paternity leave and some other things. So they would have been here today, but I just wanted to let you know that these are some of the things we do. We do supply chain logistics. We write for Logistics Viewpoint. That's our blog. And we also blog for Forbes.com quite a bit, and we do benchmarking and market studies. So that's, if you're interested, that's Logistics Viewpoints. And I was going to just say the coverage areas that we do in the supply chain area include all of these areas: omnichannel, 3PL and 4PL, demand and inventory planning, global trade management, supply chain visibility and collaboration, transportation, warehousing. So that kind of gives you an idea. It's pretty broad what they do. So if anybody's interested, any questions and things like that in that area, just ask me, or you can get in touch with Steve either way. So one of the things that impresses me, coming from a manufacturing view and going into the supply chain, I always thought, oh, this is like nothing, But the one thing that really, really impressed me is it's much more complex when you start to look into all the little details and things. And, manufacturing can be complex, but truthfully, so can the supply chain. And these are things that's very dynamic. It's changing all the time. It's complex. There's a lot of things that affect it outside of even the supply chain. There's lots of different data and integration, and there's a whole bunch of other things, including globalization. There are issues and regulations that do affect the supply chain. What people really want to do is do an end-to-end connection from the suppliers right through to the customers. That's essentially what we're looking for. And some of the other things include all the different things, like even counterfeits, reducing costs, on-time delivery. All of those things are important in the supply chain. So as far as the operational analytics and intelligence, what people want to do is they just want to connect everything. They want to get all of the data and be able to have it in a place where they can access it and use it for whatever their needs are and have that visibility. So, and it's basically integrating the data, putting it into context, modeling it, having quality data, making sure it's good data, cleansing the data, and managing that data, and also doing the analytics and the analysis, and having the visualization and the dashboards. And that's kind of like my 360-degree in the air picture. So that's what I consider to be operational intelligence, operational analytics. So some of the key trends that we're seeing around the digitization and the Internet of Things, the Internet of Everything, and it is a game changer, because it's definitely, we're seeing technology moving faster than ever. It used to be like everybody, especially in manufacturing, were more risk averse. They're engineers, they're very conservative, but you're seeing things that are really changing things. And that includes things like augmented reality and the robots and all these other awesome things that are connected, and connected services and products. So everything's going to be connected in the future. So. And I think that that's probably the biggest thing that's going on, that people, in terms of the data and everything else that they're getting. So I think it'll be really, really, I think as we go forward, we're going to see a lot of changes in this industry. So some of the, just some top drivers that we're seeing in the operations intelligence here include like the data, the analytics, and a number of different disruptive technologies I'll talk about in a minute, and also the cloud. Cloud's having a lot of applications for people because it's a way to less expensive to store data and access the data easily. So one of the things that we do track in the transportation management section, we do studies, and we do them in all different industries, but we do track the cloud and software as a service, and so you'll notice that we are starting to see the uptick that we were expecting, and we do believe it'll continue. So things are getting more connected. So what are some of the trends that people have identified? That ARC identified the following trends for 2017. And of course, there's going to be changes, or at least they're talking about it, the Trump effect. We don't know what the Brexit effect will be yet, but we'll have to just see. But those are things that people in the supply chain have to respond to very quickly. What about driverless vehicles? What about, robots and automation, drones? There's all kinds of things going on, e-commerce, and the things, and also even possibly Uberization of freight. So the things that we really want to focus on today is the Internet of Things and the digital supply chain and the digital economy. So some of the things that we're seeing in these areas, that's what I'm going to focus on in the next few slides. So this just gives a quick high level. We are seeing things like virtual augmented reality in the factories and other places and out in the field and things like that, so people can see what's going on and they get information, like look at a package or something like that they wouldn't have seen before. We're seeing drones. In fact, there's another room right now that's talking about drones. Drones are delivering packages, and the future could be that robots or drones deliver things. So those things are all happening right now. And the other one we're seeing, and I think this is quite interesting because Microsoft's going to be coming out with their new Create package in March. So it's going to be an enhancement. And you are going to be able to take holograms. So people are going to start seeing them in e-commerce quite a bit. We can take and look at the product. If you're buying a couch or some piece of equipment, you can see exactly what it looks like and how big it is and visualize it a little better. So I think that's going to be awesome in the future. And then the other thing is the analytics, and they are changing. We're seeing things like predictive and machine learning coming of age because of the fact that the compute power is there and the storage power is there today. So one of the things in the supply chain world, this was actually a survey that was done by Supply Chain magazine, and they asked about the technologies that people thought would have the biggest impact in the supply chain on company performance. And the number one was, of course, analytics. Of course, this could change, too, in the next few years, especially as robots and things like that get more advanced. So anyway, the advanced analytics, advanced robots, the Internet of Things, some of the other things that people name, the mobile technologies, digital manufacturing, those are like the top ones that people mentioned. So, and I noticed augmented reality is there, but it's kind of down the bottom. And social technology. And I'm going to give you an example of how social media actually helps somebody today. So we looked at it and we wanted to know, well, what was some of the disruptive technologies that we think will have the greatest impact? And the number one was predictive analytics. And then the number two was what we think was probably what it'll affect is the logistics area the most. So one of the things the other night, how many people are here for the Super Bowl party? Okay, ready to show of hands? Oh, okay, there's only a few. Well, I'll just talk to you guys, okay, for a minute. So one of the things that I was watching that game, and it was a pretty exciting game because, one of the things with the Super Bowl is the teams are very evenly matched when you start, okay? So they were using predictive analytics on ESN. So you can see they were at the 50th, So then what happened at halftime, the New England Patriots, which I live 10 minutes away from the stadium where they play, their stadium, home stadium. They weren't playing there, but they were playing in Houston for the game. But, this is the biggest, if you're not from this country, this is like the biggest game for the football for the season. And actually, I remember that the star quarterback was Brady when he was a rookie. So that was like 17 years ago. So you followed the team because you live in the area. But anyway, we got to halftime, and it was 100% the Atlantic Falcons were going to win. I was sure as the game was over. In fact, we had the thing going on. Lady Gaga get up and did her halftime show, and I snuck up to my room because I just couldn't bear the thought. So anyway, we get all the way through. This is probably third quarter. We get to the fourth quarter, and the analytics are now some things are starting to change here. And they're predicting that we're at 50%. So then they go all the way up, and then it was right around here when it was uncalled for. The amount of points that he got was like 25 points, which is like totally unheard of in a game like this in the last quarter. I mean, I thought it was over. And so they did win, which was kind of amazing, actually. So it was an amazing game overall. But the thing that really struck me was, these are like adaptive, predictive analytics. They're changing with the thing. And one of the things in manufacturing and in the industrial world is that you see things change. And that's why it's really nice to have something that's tracking it, even if it's just confirming what you already knew. I thought they were losing, they thought the same thing, so on, et cetera. So it's nice to have some confirmation. So what are we seeing? What are some of the key high-level things that we're seeing in analytics? Well, we're seeing new analytic tools. We are seeing them. They're more adaptive. They're making it easier. You don't necessarily have to be a data scientist to do it. You can be the domain expert or the subject matter expert. We're seeing new architectures today and infrastructures, and these are changing as we speak. We're seeing new services. People are making services out of the ability to go in and maintain things and things like that we're seeing. And we're seeing a lot of innovative technologies and visualization, advanced, mobilities coming of age, and also new sensors that people are putting in place. So one of the things, this is an example, and it was actually from last year. One of our speakers talked about this, and he can talk about it again because he's here again. He's talking about on a different topic. But I just thought I'd put this in. One of the things that they had done at, they used social media and they combined it with analytics, and this is a really good example, I thought, where they ship big equipment. They're from an very large capital equipment, and so they were shipping it to a port in China called Tianjin, China, and they also have a analytics package that looks at social media. And from the social media, they were able to collaborate and take that information, and they kept seeing something that came up that there's fire at a port. And so using that operational intelligence, they knew before anybody else that there was a fire, they knew before the news media, in Tianjin, China at the port. So this ship was going there. So what did they do? Right away, they reshipped it into one of the other ports. And so what did that give them? Well, that gave them a huge competitive advantage. They knew before anybody else. So to me, that really says you can use, there's all kinds of issues and things that you can solve with different types of analytics and different types of solutions. So what are some of the top drivers for analytics and intelligence? Well, the number one was, and this is from a survey I'd done in the manufacturing area, so I will put some of those in, but we asked people that, and they said the number one thing was faster decision making. And I think that's true in the supply chain too. So what's different today? Well, one of the things is the visualization. It's much better, it's much clearer, it's crisper, you see in much better screens, you're seeing things that you didn't see before. It's much more accessible to people. The data is contextualized, you know what it means. And it's much, much easier to implement and deploy. And that's where people, I think, are really making progress. So, and what I say is visualization drives performance. And I'll show an example of where that actually, we've seen that. So one of the other things we asked about was operational intelligence and role-based dashboards. And this was from the manufacturing world. And they're starting to see supply chain management as one of the role-based dashboards. So I thought that was kind of interesting to point out because it wasn't the top, which you wouldn't expect in manufacturing. Maybe if we had done this in the supply chain, it would have been just the opposite. But I just think that people are starting to tie that information in. So I think that's really important. So then the other thing that we're seeing, and we talked to, I don't know, it was well over somewhere between 50 and 100 analytic companies. And we've seen all kinds of use cases in all kinds of areas. A lot of them have been around fleet management. A lot of them have been about maintenance for fleets and things like that, as well as solving some problems with traffic and things like that. Ports and bridges. Trains, like the sensors and things on the train so that you can prevent downtime for a train. Shipping, logistics, we've seen them in all different areas. And the one that really struck me was the bull training. They actually filmed the the bulls so that they can see the differences when they're like how they react to different things, so that they can use it to help them train the bull. And I kept wondering, well, what does this have to do with, how could we apply this to an industrial world or something like that? And I kept thinking, well, maybe something that, they could do, and maybe someone's out there doing it. I haven't heard this, but they put cameras all over the place, and you could see changes in things with just the cameras in the right application. So there's a lot of value in the data, and that's the one thing that I really want to point out. There is a lot of value in the data that some people are already collecting it. Some people need a way to collect it and get it together, but there is a lot of value. So this is another example, and this is one where it was Excel and Mattel, and we wrote about this, so if anybody's interested in more details. But the thing that they did was they went from manufacturing to the supply chain to optimizing production. And it is a mining company, and they're in Canada, and this is all out of the Insight, the information, but he had told us about it, the person, Michel Plord, and he was actually supposed to speak, but he couldn't. But the one thing that I just wanted to point out was just using visibility. He had an OSI soft system, and what they did was they had a model, but the problem they had was they wanted to increase production, but they had a bottleneck with their supply chain. And they own their own supply chain. They own the trains and the shipping port and everything else. And the problem was in the port, which is what they were trying to solve. And they knew that in order to increase production, they had to solve their port problem, which was an old quarry. They could only get one ship in at a time, and so they needed a way to optimize it. And what they did was they used this model in the OSI soft. They didn't have to put any capital in, because that was one of the other restrictions that he had. They were able to increase their visibility so that they could actually see the dashboards in the ports, and they could move the ships out in the way that they could load them. They could optimize loading the ships and pulling the ship in and out at the same time. And they were able to increase production from 13 million tons to 26 million tons. So it was pretty impressive what they were able to do. And this is another one that we'd written about, and this is in the port of Hamburg. And the Hamburg Port Authority controls the whole port. It's a container port, and it's the third busiest container port in Europe. It's the 26th busiest one worldwide, so you can imagine what it's like. But they own the real estate, the HPA, which is the Hamburg Port Authority. They own the quarry, the bridges, the wharves, and other waterfront structures. So they have to maintain it, and they also have to make it more efficient. And they're also going to be busier. They said they're going to probably double some of the things that are coming in over the next few years. So they manage the traffic. They implemented some technology, including the SAP HANA cloud platform and some other technology. I think Cisco was involved, and there were some other players. And what they did was they put a control center in, and now they can control everything. They can control the rails, the trucks, the port, the bridge. They have, if they have a problem with a dam, they can see that it's not going up or down, or they can see it right away, and they can send somebody out for maintenance right away. So they said that it's one of the examples that we've seen that's really a holistic view from one platform. So there's another visibility with using some analytics and being able to see everything that's going on. It's really helping them a lot. And they're still doing more, from what I could tell. So just some few final thoughts. It's really about getting intelligence and all the information just to get some resulting value and the return on investment that people want. You want to see results and real-time actionable results, so you can make changes before something's completed, is what I say. And so again, I said big data, you need the big data, but by itself, it's useless unless you do something with it that results in actionable intelligence and insight that can deliver value to your organization. And that's what people are really looking for.